Push P. Yeah, push P. Turn me up. Turn me up, P. Corners in the paddock, get my piece. Push P. Cop new hammers for my P. We don't want no.
Yeah, are you kidding me?
Yeah, just a little something. Break us off a little something, you know.
Oh, let me see. It must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine. That's your way.
Come on.
You always walked a step behind.
You straight though? Cause
You need some water?
You need to ride well.
We don't do rides, but where you trying to go? Where's she going? There's Maia Campbell.
Okay.
You got a shoe with an ankle on it?
Shoe with a what?
Ankle on it, like what you got on?
Some flip-flop or something, Mike.
They sounded like that.
They comfortable?
They got these from $5.99. They got some $12.99.
She said the pink. Go see Mike, whatever you want. It don't matter.
I do all the
Never
time.
get married, you'll never have a bank account.
I'm gonna try to.
Like you in trick forever, you ass in the mother. I will clown the fuck out of you like you're an 80-year-old man with no teeth right now. Talking to me like that, nigga. You will never have a dental plan. You with me like that. And you talk to me like that one more goddamn time. You know how many embryos I will put in your policy, nigga? So every I know you lie, please. Nigga, I will represent the death of you. I pray for your downfall. You talking to me like that. Don't you ever talk to me like that.
It's like it's so white man trying to see. Everybody's not so aware.
Ain't you, Maya, you from the,
Yeah, for $1 more, be whoever you want. I got jokes. I pray God for you.
Ain't you Maya though?
I pray God for you. At the same time.
You say what?
I said I pray God for you.
You thank God for me?
Yes.
But aren't you the actress?
I was caught up in my magazine reading all kinds of stuff. And now I'm so humble, spirit play right now. I'm cute. You probably got a good look, and I probably ain't got too much wrong about, but it is what it is. I'm good. It's that bad. Oh my God, it's that bad. Hold on.
So you're a mom, and what's going on, man? I would love to see you bounce back in your career.
Well, hold on.
Hello to my beautiful kings and queens of the Cree crew. This is Cree Cree, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. And as always, I truly, truly do appreciate you. So let's talk about this young lady right here. Okay, so I know most of you that is watching this is probably familiar with her, but for those of you all that are not familiar with her, this is the lovely, the beautiful Maia Campbell. She was that up-and-coming it girl that was really a force to be reckoned with back in the 90s. She's probably best known for her role as Tiffany Warren in the series In the House, starring LL Cool J and Debbie Allen. And from there, it just seemed like her star just seemed to get bigger. She had starred in a couple of movies. She was making cameos in different TV shows, such as Sister Sister and Moesha and Beverly Hills 90210. And even made some notable cameo appearances in quite a few music videos. But just when things looked like that it was going to be on the up and up for her, everything, and I mean everything, came crashing down. And that crash was brutal, and it was heartbreaking, and it was tragic. We didn't see her for quite a few years in the 2000s. However, when a video surfaced on the internet of Maia in a car cussing somebody out, looking completely disheveled and almost unrecognizable, We knew something wasn't right. We knew something absolutely was not right. And everybody was just sitting there dumbfounded, asking the same question. What the hell happened? What the hell happened to Maia Campbell? How did we go from this to this in a matter of a few years? And I want to get into that story today. But even though she had a hard fall, she definitely was like the phoenix, and she rose from the ashes, and she rebuilt her life back together piece by piece. So this story will be the rise, the fall, and the redemption of Maia Campbell. Let's get into it. So Maia was born Maia Chinasa Campbell on November 26, 1976 in Tacoma Park, Maryland. She was the only child born to Tico and Elizabeth Campbell. Tico Campbell was a big-time college football player that eventually turned into a big-time architect. And Elizabeth Campbell became the well-known author that we've all come to know later on as B.B. Moore Campbell. B.B. Moore Campbell was a journalist that worked her way up into becoming a best-selling author. She's written several novels and short stories over the span of her career, but the one that stands out the most is a novel that she wrote called 72 Hour Hold. And the premise of the book is about a mother who is struggling to raise and take care of a daughter who has mental illness. And it's safe to say that this book is loosely based on BB and Maia's life together. But anyway, back to the story. So unfortunately, Tico and BB's marriage did not last long after Maia was born. They divorced when Maia was about 3 years old. And when Maia was about 7 years old, her mom remarried Ellis Gordon Jr. And not long after they were married, the new family soon relocated from Tacoma Park, Maryland to South Central Los Angeles. They moved because BB was getting further in her writing career, and they wanted to move to California where she would be able to have better opportunities for her. And she could also provide better opportunities for Maia as well. During Maia's childhood and adolescent years, BB put Maia in several types of classes to introduce her to the arts. She put her in acting classes. She put her in singing lessons. She put her in dance classes. She got her involved in just about any and everything that she could think of to keep her busy, to keep her occupied, and, keep her from becoming a product of the hood pretty much. When Maia got to high school, she was enrolled in Crossroads High School, which is a very prestigious high school in Los Angeles, in the Santa Monica area. Crossroads is one of those schools that you have to get tested to be accepted and be interviewed to go in there. That's where most of the Hollywood elite, that's where they sent their kids at. Quincy Jones' daughters went to that school. Matter of fact, she said she was real cool with Kidada and Rashida. So getting into this school was a very big deal. And the fact that it was in Santa Monica and they lived in South Central, I can imagine that was a bit of a commute to get to school every day. Her mama driving all of them miles every day to get her to and from school. Now that's some dedication. That's some dedication for real. Eventually, all of those classes and workshops that Maia was in started to pay off, because at the age of 15, she received her big break, starring in her first movie role in the 1993 John Singleton cult classic Poetic Justice. She was cast as Shantae, which was Lucky's cousin. Lucky is Tupac's character, which was the main character in the movie. It was a small role where she may have had only maybe 1 or 2 scenes, but it was enough to get eyes put on her. And from there, her career really started to take off. She started to snag some guest appearance roles in a few TV shows. A couple of them that comes to mind, one is Thea which is a TV show on ABC starring Thea Vidal, Brandy, and Jason Weaver. Another TV show in which she had a recurring role, which is probably her next big role, was on the TV show South Central. It aired in the spring of 1994 and unfortunately was canceled after 10 episodes. But Maia played the role of Nicole, who was the girlfriend of Andre, who was one of the main characters of the show, and Andre was played by Lorenz Tate. And Maia tells this story about her and Lorenz that I actually found very interesting because from what I remembered when I watched the TV show back then, they had great chemistry. They really, really worked well together in their roles. Where it seemed like that they definitely would have had some chemistry off screen as well. But in the story that Maia recently told on the Waking Up podcast with Corey Love, she said that Lorenz didn't really like her, which I thought was shocking.
So what was it like working with Lorenz on South Central?
Lorenz don't even like me.
Why do you say that? Don't say that. Come on.
I used to try so hard to get his approval. I started rapping. One time I started rapping on, we had a break on the show on South Central.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a break, like the audience break, when the director is changing the set around and he's let the audience kind of fend for themselves, and the comedian comes out. And I came out and I freestyled, and that's like the only time Lorenz Tate paid attention to me. He did not really pay attention to me at all.
So you wanted his attention though.
I mean, I guess it's my job to get, brownie points from like the leading guy. If I'm the girl, I don't want him to hate me.
Yeah.
I don't want him to do something to stab me in the back or make me look bad.
I mean, it was really mind-boggling to me. It was mind-boggling to me that a girl like her, at that time, she was young, she was beautiful. All the young girls looked up to her, wanted to be like her. All the dudes wanted to be with her. And she was insecure. I can remember 13-year-old me looking at her thinking like, man, I know she'd never have no problems pulling dudes. I just knew that. And so when I heard I was floored by that. But it just goes to show you that, even the most beautiful people are going to have some insecurities about themselves. And it's not always about how other people see you and how other people view you. It's in how you view yourself, It was during this time in her teenage years when her family moved from South Central and moved to the Black affluent neighborhood of Baldwin Hills. However, as we will soon find out later on in this story, that you can take the girl out the hood, but you definitely cannot take the hood out the girl. Now, shortly after South Central was canceled, she graduated high school, and in the fall of 94, going into 95, she moved to New York so she could attend NYU. And she also attended the American Academy of Dramatic Arts while going on auditions to snag more roles. However, that time in New York was short-lived because she and her roommate, which was one of her girlfriends from Cali, was illegally subletting an apartment in New York. And once the landlord found that out, they were immediately evicted. So after Maia and her friend had to leave that apartment that was overlooking the Hudson River, they had to move to a different apartment that was on the Lower East Side. And from that point, she was just like, yeah, I'm not really feeling it. I don't really want to be here. And so she called her mom and told her mom what happened. It was like, look, I know we got evicted, but we got this other apartment and I'm not really, this ain't really for me. And her mom told her, hey, did you know that you also got accepted into Spelman College? And Maia was like, no, I didn't even know I got accepted at Spelman. And her mom was like, yeah. So you know what? Why don't you leave New York? Why don't you go down to Atlanta, go to Spelman and see what they got for you down there? So that's what she did. She moved to Atlanta, got herself acclimated and familiar with the culture down there. And that's where she really started to flourish. While she was at Spelman, she was studying theater. And while she was in that theater program, she snagged the lead role in their school's production of Sparkle. You remember the 70s movie Sparkle? About the girl singing group, the sisters that was in the singing group with Lynette McKee and Irene Cara and who else was it? Philip Michael Thomas. A cult classic for the culture for sure. And then of course they did the remake later on in 2012 with Whitney Houston and all that. But she snagged the lead in that while she was there at Spelman. But that role that she did in Sparkle would lead her to her biggest role yet. Because little did Maia know, somebody was watching her. And somebody was watching her very closely. And that somebody just so happened to be Debbie Allen. Because while Maia was at Spelman, Debbie was also at Spelman doing a residency. And Maia knew she was there, but she didn't know that Debbie was even paying any attention to her, because while Debbie was there, Debbie was mainly working with the seniors, with the upperclassmen, and she was still a freshman at the time. But also what a lot of people didn't know at the time was that Debbie was in the works with NBC to bring about a new sitcom where she was playing a single divorced mother of 2 kids, and she needed a daughter. She needed a teenage daughter. And so when she saw Maia in that production of Sparkle, she immediately got on the phone with Quincy Jones and practically raved about her. And she called Quincy because Quincy was one of the executive producers on this new show. And as I stated before, Quincy was already pretty familiar with Maia because she had went to school with his daughter. She went to Crossroads, remember? And then she had already had a nice resume built up. You know, she did Poetic Justice, she did Thea, and then her biggest role at that point was the role that she did on South Central. So Quincy was already looking at her. Quincy already had his eyes on her. So Quincy called Maia up and told her that he wanted her to do this show. And she happily accepted. Matter of fact, I don't even think that she even had to audition for that role. I think she just got it. And so from there, she left Spelman. I don't even think she even did a full year of college at that point. But she left Spelman, left Atlanta, and went back to LA so they could get to work on this show. And the name of that show was called In the House. So the original premise of the show was centered around LL Cool J's character and Debbie Allen's character. LL Cool J played a football player by the name of Marion. He suffered a pretty debilitating injury on the field where he wasn't able to play. So in order to bring in a little bit of extra cash, he decided to rent out his penthouse while he stayed in the guest house. Now, the only condition to that was that they were both to share the kitchen. Debbie Allen's character, which is who was renting out the penthouse, was a single, recently divorced mother that moved into that penthouse with her 2 kids, and Maia Campbell played her daughter, Tiffany. That first season started off as a mid-season replacement around the spring of 1995. So it didn't have that many episodes. It had like maybe about 10, I don't even think it was 10 episodes, but it had a handful of episodes for that first season. But the first season did so well that it did get greenlighted for a second season. However, by the end of season 2 in May of 96, NBC canceled the series due to low ratings. But all hope was not lost because by season 3, the series got picked up by a newer network called UPN, where it ran for the next 3 seasons. But unfortunately, when UPN picked up the show, it got rebranded into a more adult-oriented type of show, and so casting and things got changed around. Debbie Allen and Jeffrey Wood, who played Tiffany's little brother Austin on the show, they ended up leaving the show. I'm going to assume it's possible because of financial reasons, maybe. Nobody ever really knew what happened with them and why they left. But luckily, Maia and LL, they remained on the show, so they were still there. And from there, they added 2 new main characters to the cast, which would be Kim Wayans and Alfonso Ribeiro. And also what was going on around this time, around the time that she was on In the House, a lot of people don't know is that Maia actually was trying to pursue a music career. Yeah, she was. Crazy enough, she signed a 6-album deal with Atlantic Records around 97, 98, which was a pretty big deal back then. You know, back in the mid to late 90s, that still wasn't really a thing that people did. You either did acting or you did music. It wasn't, you didn't do both. If you did one, you stayed with one, and that's generally how it was. You had to stay in one lane and stick with it. You can't go flip-flopping back and forth. But yeah, during that time that she was trying to get in the music business, she was under the tutelage and the mentorship of Dallas Austin and Tricky Stewart, who were and still are big legendary producers, especially in the R&B world. So when she wasn't on set working on In the House, she was working in the studio. And she was in the studio with a lot of artists such as like Robin Thicke and Tamar Braxton. And this, you know, back in the early days when nobody knew who they were yet. You know, she worked with Brian McKnight and Shantae Moore. She also worked with quite a few rappers such as Jay-Z and Bun B, Manny Fresh. She had even gone overseas to like South America and even places in Europe and worked with other hip-hop and R&B artists in other countries. At first, she was being managed by Benny Medina, and if you don't know who that is, he's like the big-time manager of like Will Smith. Like he's the man that's basically the center of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And then eventually, she went from Benny Medina and was managed by Tracy Edmonds. And actually, Tracy Edmonds is the one that is responsible for getting her involved in music videos, being a part of music videos. She was the one that got her in the music video with Jaheim. And she was also the one that got her in the videos, in the 2 videos rather, with Tyrese. Everybody knows those 2 songs, Sweet Lady and Lately. So yeah, during those late 90s, she had a lot going on. She had a lot on her plate. And unfortunately, I believe it was these series of events that led her to her downward spiral. So back in 98, which was around maybe the 4th season of In the House, is when those cracks really started to show and people really started to notice that something was definitely wrong with Maia. She started having some very severe and emotional breakdowns on the set on In the House. And the meltdown was so bad to where she was actually fired from the show. A lot of people don't know that, but she got fired from the show. In fact, in season 5, which is the last season, which wrapped up in 99, she was only in 2 episodes of that season. I believe she was in the first 2 episodes in that last season, and then after that, she wasn't on there no more. They wrote her off and basically said she eloped and got married and moved across the country somewhere, and that's pretty much was the conclusion of her story. You know how sitcoms do. I'm just grateful that they didn't kill her off. You know how sitcoms do on that too. They just write you off and just say, oh, well, she died. But they didn't do that. Her mother, BB, took her to a specialist and got help for her, and that's when it was discovered that she was actually suffering from bipolar disorder.
Well, you're speaking very nicely right now.
Yeah, I'm a nice person.
Then again, one could say this is the day that you remember to take your meds. Are you bipolar?
Yeah.
Yeah. And tell us what that's about. Because you know what? Lisa Nicole Carson, I don't think enough people, including me, are familiar with that. I used to work with one of my fellow jocks was bipolar. And I know when he didn't take his medicine, he was like something other. What is bipolar disorder?
It's basically another word for manic depressive. I don't know if you've heard of manic depressive. It's just an emotional disorder, and it can be caused by trauma. It can be caused by pressure, and it can be caused by a lot of other, things. And basically, I just had to take some time away from the industry to reestablish myself and rehabilitate over the fact that I'm dealing with an illness.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a lot of actors in the business that have it.
I'm sure
I'm not going to name
are.
names because I don't, but I think there's a couple of people in the business that have it. A lot of artists have it and a lot of actors have it.
Yeah, and a lot of people have it and don't acknowledge it. They don't know what it is.
Right.
So, were you diagnosed with bipolar during the time of the LL Cool J? Was this in the house?
No, I wasn't until after the show was over. So yeah.
So, do you take a bunch of different meds a day or just one?
I don't want to talk about that one.
Okay, well, I don't
want to talk about that.
I was just trying to get to the bottom of it.
No, I don't want to talk about that.
So, how's Mary?
Now, I don't know if the family always knew that something was wrong, but I do remember Maia mentioning in an interview once that she definitely had some sort of behavioral issues that even went back to when she was a child. But it seems like that the work that she did with the acting and the singing and everything is kind of what calmed that and kind of centered her in a sense. But as we all know with mental illness, there are just certain things that you just can't let go untreated for oh so long before stuff really starts to blow and start to hit the fan. And I do believe that that's what happened in 98. One thing that I did forget to mention during the late 90s, so it was around 98, around the time when the music career was trying to take off, and also when we started kind of dealing with the mental health issues. She married her boyfriend, which his name was Elias Gutierrez, back in 98. And then in 2000, she had her daughter, whose name was Alicia Gutierrez. But unfortunately, all that joy and blissfulness was short-lived, because with her dealing with these psychotic episodes that she's gotten from this newly diagnosed disorder, it became increasingly difficult for people to deal with her, especially her family. She refused to take the medication that was prescribed for her because she didn't like the way it made her feel. She figured that she can handle it and deal with it on her own, and she couldn't. And as a result, about a year later, when Alicia was 1, she lost custody. Her mother, BB, was actually the one that had to take her daughter from her and make sure that she was safe. And it also became difficult for her husband to deal with it too, because in 2002, he eventually had to file for a divorce. And the crazy thing is, Maia said that she was just so doped up and out of it during that time that she don't even remember the divorce. She don't even remember him filing for divorce. She don't even remember any of that. So she ended up losing custody of her daughter because she wouldn't take her medication. Custody went fully and solely to her ex-husband. And during that time, she was struggling and desperate to get off drugs. And it didn't work, and it only got worse. By the 2000s, though, it seems as if that trajectory that she was on in prior years had finally started to slow down. She'd get some bit movie parts here and there, maybe some TV cameo appearances, maybe a couple of more music videos here and there, but eventually the phones just stopped ringing. Now, I remember, and for the life of me, I cannot find this anywhere on the internet, and I searched high and low, but I remember around maybe 2003, maybe 2004, Maia Campbell did an interview in Sister to Sister magazine. I don't know if a lot of y'all remember Sister to Sister magazine from back in the day. Shout out to Jamie Foster Brown. But I remember reading this. I remember reading this interview, and I remember back then I knew reading that interview, I knew something wasn't right with her, because she was on there just going off, and she was throwing some major shade to Megan Good and Reagan Gomez Preston. Now, I know y'all know who Megan Good is. If you don't remember who Reagan is, she was the girl that was in the TV show back in the 90s called The Parenthood. She played the daughter Zaria. And then in the 2000s, you know, she had did a couple of movies. She did Love Don't Cost a Thing with Nick Cannon, and she was in that movie with DMX. I believe it was Never Die Alone. But I remember how she was talking about how Megan Good wasn't that good looking, and Reagan was kind of average with her acting, and they needed to pay homage to her because she the one that paved the way for them. If it wasn't for her, they wouldn't have the roles that they have now. I think she was just really being salty because at that point, they were getting the movie roles that she was going out for and didn't get. I didn't get that back when I read it then, but knowing what I know now, I see where that came from. Because 10 years ago, it was her getting all the roles, her getting all the phone calls. And now here it is, we in the early to mid 2000s, ain't nobody calling her, but now all of these new up and coming actresses is coming up, taking the roles that she tried out for, that she would have gotten. She basically got blackballed after that meltdown that she had on In the House when they fired her, because even after that, her music career didn't go anywhere, as we can all see. But honey, after that interview with Sister to Sister, things only got worse for her. Now, what none of us realize is that, even though she was doing movies and on TV shows and she was this big star back in the 90s, but deep down, she was still very much that hood girl. She was still very much that hood chick from South Central. She used to hang with her homies, used to still hang around the block. Cause you know how it is. You know how it is when you move out the hood and go into the suburbs, you don't want people to look at you and think, oh, well, you forgot where you came from. So no, you want to still show the people on the block that you down. And so you still going out there and you still hanging out with them, doing all the stuff that you ain't supposed to do. So of course she was dibbling and dabbling in some drugs here and there. She did some weed, maybe tried out a little bit of Coca-Cola in the beginning, but by the 2000s, and by the time her career had slowed down, all of that she went full-fledged. She went in head first, for sure. And in the years that followed, it only went from bad to worse. In 2005, her mother, Bebe Moore Campbell, was diagnosed with brain cancer. But before that diagnosis, she had actually released a book called The 72-Hour Hold. And that book was loosely based on Bebe and Maia's life together, with them dealing with Maia's mental health issues. She released that book to try to bring awareness to mental health and how it is really a disease and how it can be controlled and dealt with for other family members that's also dealing with things like this. So after Bebe's cancer diagnosis in 2005, that didn't stop Maia. The drugs continued. It had gotten so bad for her that family members wouldn't even allow her to see her mother because they didn't want Bebe to see her daughter like that, and they didn't want her to be acting erratic or just wilding out or going off the deep end while her mama's dealing with this. So she does admit she didn't get to see her. She didn't get to see her as much as she wanted to. And unfortunately, from that point, it only got worse. Because a year later, her mother, Bebe Moore Campbell, died from brain cancer on November 27th of 2006. One day after Maia's 30th birthday. Baby, if that don't tear you up and tear you down, I don't know what will. I don't know what will. To not only lose your mother in the way that you did, in the condition that you are in, where you're not even able to see her and care for her like you need to, and then to have her to die the day after your birthday. What you think happened after that? Now, what you think happened with Maia after that? Exactly. All bad. It just went from sugar to shit to even more shit. Now, after Bebe Moore Campbell's death, we didn't see too much of Maia after that. But 3 years later, all of that changed because in 2009, a video of Maia surfaced online. And honey, let me tell you, we as a collective, as the Black community as a whole, was absolutely horrified by what we saw. It wasn't the same person. It was not the same person. I'm like, this can't be Tiffany from In the House from 10 years ago. What happened? Now, I think a lot of us, when we saw that, was really sad. I think we were more sad than anything when we saw that video, because we knew that a lot of that stemmed from her losing her mama just a few years before. But a lot of us didn't know that those were things that she was dealing with even back when she was in her prime. And just none of us knew that. And then from there, it only got worse. It only got worse. It seemed like every year there was a new mugshot or a new video that popped up with her on it, with her being erratic. We hear her being out there in Atlanta, just wilding out, fighting. Then we saw her again in 2012 when she was on Iyanla Fix My Life. Things seem to have been going in the right direction, but you can tell even from that she still had a lot of work to do, because she definitely still seemed like that she was a shell of herself. She still wasn't the same person, but she wasn't completely what she was 3 years prior to that in 2009. A few years later, in 2016, she was added to the cast of the BET docuseries From the Bottom Up, which was a show about a group of women who were at one point in their careers at the top of their game, and then some event or some unforeseen circumstances somehow derailed their career to where they hit rock bottom, and then they had to try to climb their way back up to the top again. And she was on there. Also, Sarah Stokes from Diddy's Making the Band was on there. And even Crystal Wilson, who we all know as Ronnie from the Players Club, was on that show as well. But she was only on it for that second season. She wasn't on there that third season, and none of us really knew why. I remember I was thinking to myself, okay, well, maybe she working on some stuff again. Maybe, maybe she back out there on the road trying to get her career back up and running, because that's all we wanted for her. We was rooting for her to get better and to get back on top. But unfortunately, that did not happen. Because in 2017, a new video surfaced of her pumping gas at a gas station, half naked, disheveled, hair all over the place, begging for some crack. She kind of explained what happened that night that led up to that video being taped.
I had gone to the club and I experienced some sort of swindle. I was swindled at the club out here in Atlanta, and I put myself in that situation. I went by myself. I should have went with my girlfriends, but by the time I came back to life, I was dancing at the gas station, and nobody knew how that happened to me. And all they said is, let's get her back to LL Cool J, because clearly something had happened to me and nobody wanted to admit it. Clearly they took my purse, they took my wig, they took my outfit. I was standing there in my underwear. You think I came out the house in my underwear? I ain't come out the house like that. So something did happen.
Now, the video was recorded and posted by a rapper in Atlanta by the name of T Hood. Once that video started circulating and went viral, it got back to Maia's former co-star, LL Cool J, who then sent out a tweet asking how to get a hold of Maia. And also got in T Hood's ass in the process, saying, hey, instead of pulling out your camera to record her, how about trying to help her? But then according to Maia, her close circle, her friends and her family was like, well, no, you don't need no help from him. We can help you. We got you. And then as a result, she released this video.
Hey, Todd. Look, bro, I love you. Hey, I don't need help. I just need a benefit concert for mental health. Don't TMZ me. It's really me. This is Daryl. And there's a shop that I temp at or whatever. We're good. I'm good. I'm doing property. I have investments. I'm a real serious person. And my show is called From the Bottom Up Season 2.
How should I get in touch with you?
Don't call me. I'll call you.
Now, for real, how should I get in touch with you?
Who?
LL. Todd.
I'm really on Instagram, but I don't want it to go down.
Well, how should I get in touch?
I don't know. Pray to God that I don't start rapping.
Come on, man. Be serious, man.
No, man. I don't know. Leave me alone.
Hush. Don't scream. Relax. Calm down. Be serious.
Going through your audition, LL, he reached out to you, right?
He totally reached out to me, and I wasn't able to call him back right away. So people told his camp that I wasn't trying to talk to him, and that was not the case. That was not exactly the case. I was not avoiding him. If I would have known he was on the phone somewhere, I would have came running to the phone.
So your people told LL that you didn't need help?
I don't know why they said that on the internet. I think they were just trying to get likes or views. I think they were just trying to make headlines. They weren't trying to tell the truth. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, LL was calling, trying to get me in a rehab. He was trying to pay $60,000 a month to get me in a rehab back in. He was trying to call and get me back in LA. And family members and people around me, they just was like, nah, leave her. You know, we got her. We'll take care of it. You know, they wanted to act like they really knew what I needed and knew the love that some people had for me. They wanted to match energy, compete. Like, nah, we love her. Fuck it. We'll take care of her. No, you won't. Like, you know, it just became, I just leave it up to God.
So then he just threw his hands up and was just like, okay, well, I mean, you can't help nobody that don't want to be helped, right? So that was that. But then going back and looking at that gas station video, I'm sitting up here like, why does he look familiar? Why does that dude look so familiar? And I couldn't put my finger on it at first. But then I remember that name T Hood, and I was like, hold on. That's the dude that got unalived last year by Kirk and Rashida Frost's son, Kai Frost. Because T Hood was dating Kirk and Rashida's daughter, Kelsey Frost, who was also a rapper, by the way. Because remember, they all in Atlanta. Even Maia, she had been in Atlanta since her Spelman days. And apparently T Hood was no stranger to DV and was constantly putting his hands on Kelsey. There was even a video that circulated about that. And apparently after one of these DV incidents, Kai, Kelsey's brother, came to her defense and pow-powed him as a result. I think they initially tried to charge him, but then it got deemed as self-defense, and I don't think charges were ever filed against him. And I think it was at that moment when that video started to come out and all of that stuff started coming out about her, is when she finally just said, you know what, yeah, I can't do this no more. I can't keep doing this. And she finally did whatever she could, however she could do it, to get herself clean. That was back in 2017. Fast forward to 2025, and we're starting to see her post on Instagram and on Facebook, and she's looking absolutely stunning. She looks gorgeous now. Maia is just one of those people that everybody just wants to root for. You know, nobody's looking at her as a joke. Nobody's bad-mouthing her. We genuinely want her to win. You want her to get better, and you just want to keep praying for her because you know where she was. If you were alive and you remember back then, you know how hot she was, and we just knew she was gonna be up there with the Gabrielle Unions and the Sanaa Lathans and the Regina Halls. We just knew she was gonna be up there with them, and unfortunately that didn't happen for her. Now in this instance, I can't necessarily blame it on the industry. I can't say, oh well, she sold her soul, and no, I can't say that this time. I think those opportunities came to her at the right moment when it was supposed to come to her, but also when you have underlying conditions that you don't know about that is left untreated, anything could happen. And by the time that her and her mom found the root of the problem, the cause of all the issues that she was going to, it was too little too late. Hollywood had already moved on. As long as you are useful to them, then they got your back 100% of the way. As soon as you show some kind of a flaw of any sort, then yeah, they're done with you. And that's pretty much what happened with her. And she didn't know how to deal with any of that. She was young coming into it. She didn't know how to handle that. And then in the midst of all of that, to have your biggest cheerleader, your biggest supporter, the one who understands you more than anyone else in this world, to leave you in the manner that she did right around your birthday, yeah, that'll break anybody. That can break the strongest person. Okay. And these are struggles and demons that she's been dealing with for well over 20 years now. But to see how far she's come over these last 6 or 7 years, because she said she's been clean for about 7 years now. So to see how far that she's come, we can't do nothing but be proud of her and to just keep rooting for her and to keep praying for her. Because if you know, you know, mental illness and substance abuse and addiction, that's not something that can be cured overnight. And it's a constant battle and a struggle for an addict to stay clean and to stay on that right path. It's one day at a time. Maia is 49 now. She'll be celebrating her 50th birthday later on this year. She has rebuilt her relationship with her daughter, Alicia, once again. You know, I'm just hoping and praying that this time she has the right people around her, that's surrounding her, supporting her, loving her, encouraging her to keep going. Because she needs that. She needs that kind of positivity around her.
What's the journey been like, you know, with the sobriety?
It's one day at a time. I'm 6 days clean. No, I'm 6 years clean. Thank you. I was doing the most. I was getting lit. I was doing too much, and you know, I don't really want to talk about. I don't want to trigger anyone by saying what I was doing, right? Because like I said, I want to be that leader that leaves that example, leaves that mark of example. But
you still got your influence. Somebody need to hear you say it. Somebody watching this.
But it wasn't. I was smoking more than weed. I was doing too much. I was doing something I shouldn't have been doing. Something that was given to me that I never should have fucked with. It wasn't a gift. It was something that misled me and left me in a delusional state. Left me in a, you know, I forgot about the people that really love me. And
you know what? I would love to meet her one day. I would just love to just meet her and just have a conversation with her, just to shoot the shit. It just seemed like that she would just be so cool to talk to. And it wouldn't even be on like no interview journalistic type of shit. It just seemed like somebody that I could just sit back and just chop it up with while we just, we just bonding, while eating crab legs or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely do want to see her prosper, though. She was destined for greatness at one point. If it happened for her once, then it can definitely happen for her again. All right, y'all. Well, that's all I got. That's all Mama got on this one. I hope you guys enjoyed my story on the wonderful, beautiful, gorgeous Maia Campbell, the rise and fall and the redemption. If there's anybody in particular you want me to do a story on, just leave it down in the comments below. I have a few of y'all that had sent me suggestions, and I am working on those as well. Okay? But anyway, if you have made it this far, please do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I will see you guys in the next video. My name is Cree, and y'all be easy.